Good afternoon, everybody. This is a big day for fresh direct marketing channels, notably farmers markets. I think it's the first time ever the topic has been discussed at a national forum, and for that I have to thank Max Foster. Thank you, Max. It only took 12 years of farmers markets to get this far. I'm going to talk to you about what I would call the grassroots. There are a lot of big picture stories, lots of data, lots of stats. I'm going to give you good stories and some photos rather than graphs, so I hope you enjoy the presentation. The recently released Department of Agriculture, Food and Fishery food map, which I'm sure many of you in this audience are familiar with, was good reading for me the other day. I'm going to just quote you something from it. Right at the top, at the front, there is evidence that consumers continue to hold positive attitudes towards local products and local providers. Opportunities exist where there is an ability to capitalise on tailored marketing of local products and providers. A local supply chain can offer the benefit of increased flexibility and tailoring to meet local demand and potentially shorter lead times. Now, I know this is a horticulture session and I'm going to bend it a bit. I'm going to talk about more than fruit and veg. And first of all, I'm going to talk to you about something that I'm very passionate about, farmers markets. But I'm not only going to mention farmers markets in my presentation, I'm going to touch on other areas of what I would call alternative marketing supply channels that encompass many things on that list: regional food stores, CSA farms, box schemes. I'm going to have to run through that very, very quickly to give you an idea of some of these alternative market channels aside from farmers markets. Probably most of you think you know what a farmers market is. I've popped that definition up there just in case you need refreshing. It is, of course, a market where the transaction is direct from the producer or the artisan value adder directly to the consumer. And the definition that I have there is the definition that is the one that has been prescribed by the Australian Farmers Markets Association. First of all, let me introduce you to one of the bigger farmers markets. This is the Everleigh Farmers Market, which is held every Saturday in Sydney, in Redfern, from 8 o'clock till 1 o'clock. Typically, there are 70 plus stalls at that farmers market. There are between 3,500 and 6,000 shoppers go through that market. It is undercover, it is all weather. Their own research have shown that 36% of their regular shoppers are local residents. Others, the other statistic, 37% are actually friends who've found their way there by referral. 78% of the shoppers come from either the eastern suburbs or the inner west of Sydney. They don't have, unfortunately, expenditure figures, but I will give you a little bit of data from Victoria about what people spend in farmers markets. But just think about what's spent in that environment compared to recent stats that I did see about the 50 cents of every food dollar which is spent in either Coles or Woolworths. Quick history. First farmers market was actually in 1999. There are about 160 trading in all states at the moment, 160 plus. There's no incumbency for any market to actually nominate their existence. And I heard of one new one in Canberra just at morning tea this morning. So it's 161 plus. National turnover was measured in a DPI Victoria survey of 40 million. In 2010, the Victorian Farmers Markets Association polled 97 farmers markets and came up with an economic impact of 227 million. Now, in terms of other data that's presented at this conference, this is nothing, but it's not inconsequential. The latest farmers market that I'm aware of that started is actually in Launceston, and for a population of 100,000 at their first farmers market, they had 3,500 people. And they're continuing to trade over 2,500. The other major impact, I think, in terms of the germination of farmers' markets has been the work done by the Victorians, who have established an accreditation scheme with or of farmers' markets and of vendors in those markets, funded in part by the foresight of the Victorian Department of Primary Industry. And if there's anybody here, take a bow. It's good work. Thank you. Now, I don't know if there's anybody in the audience who worked on this particular survey, and I'm not altogether sure that it's been fully published. So I apologise if I've taken any licence here with this data, but it has been provided to me because the Farmers Markets Association facilitated that research. In the ABARES survey that was done last year, 44% of the markets looked after, if you like, a population of less than 50,000, 33% population of more than 100,000, 44% were monthly. My great joy in this is that 43% were weekly. Now, this is a change in the culture of farmers' markets over time. More market starts are now weekly, and this is good for the grower. 66.7% were not-for-profit structures. 22% were run by private enterprise. Most of them were between 11 and 30 stallholders, so not as big as Everleigh. The other figures at the bottom there are the good news figures. 69% reported stallholder increases over their trading history. 64% reported an increase in customer numbers. And the great figure for me there is 97% of the farmers' market managers questioned said that those markets were sustainable long term. VFMA has done some of their own work, and here you start to get a picture of who shops in a farmer's market. 80% female and not spring chickens, I have to say. 64% employed and white collar, average income pretty high, 80,000. 24% of the residents shopped at least once a month. The average visitation was pretty high. 46% shopped at more than one market. This is because many of the markets in Victoria are monthly, so they're actually seeking them out on a weekly basis. 58% had been shopping in farmers' markets for more than 3 years, and in the suburbs they travelled by and large under 10k, but in the regions they're willing to go up to 50k to reach a farmers' market to shop. Their motivations, interesting but not surprising. 89%, they're there to buy fresh, quality, seasonal, healthy produce. 31% social factors, that's things like wanting to support Australian growers, wanting to support farmers. 30% were there for more sustainable reasons, whether it was local food, environmental footprints, but those sorts of issues. 58% reported that they had, over time, increased their fresh food consumption as a result of shopping in those markets. They spent, by and large, an hour at the market, and I'm obviously a regular shopper in farmers' markets. I would do that too, and I'd usually drop $100 on my way through. 84% reported buying fruit and vegetables. So in terms of a horticulture session this afternoon, this is an important thing, I think, to note. The average spend is another very important thing to note. $29.50 to $33.50 was the average spend on fruit and veg of those people polled. Their total expenditure, I might spend $100, they spent $70 on average. And 34% then went on to spend money in the local communities outside of the market. So the economic development impact, which I haven't got time to go into, of farmers' markets is very, very substantial.